So hi everyone, my name is Madeline Buell. I am the National River Cleanup Manager at American Rivers. I've been in the position for 5 years and I lead our monthly cleanup organizer discussion calls in addition to a lot of other stuff. So the purpose of these calls is to share information, collect ideas and feedback and network and ask questions and try to solve bring ideas to the table for various niche issues that us cleanup organizers experience as we're planning events. So I have a few reminders. Register your cleanup event. If you have a cleanup event that hasn't been registered yet with us, please do so. And if you need trash bags, we do need you to register at least 4 weeks in advance. If you've had your cleanup event this summer, please make sure that you submit your data results to us. It is extremely important for us to report on and share it back out with the network and identify things that we need to address and new resources and whatnot. And then also Most Endangered Rivers nominations, that is American Rivers annual campaign. Nominations are due, I should know the date. It's due in September. I'll send an email out after this though, with that application. And if you have any questions, you can ask Chantel, my colleague, who is leading that effort. So if you think your river could be a great river to talk about, and you have a certain issue that's happening, I think this would be a great opportunity to take a national look at it and kind of shine the spotlight on the work that you guys do and also the problems that your river is experiencing. So today's topic is on digital marketing and communications. Before we get into that topic and I introduce Alice, we do have a new cleanup organizer resource. Based on the organizer survey data that we received last summer or last fall, we created the quick guide to successful cleanup. So I'll share my screen. So that is on our website. I believe you guys have received at least one email about this. We'll continue to share it out, and this would be great if you know someone that is looking to organize a cleanup for the first time, or you just want it as a reference point, or you're bringing on new staff or a teammate or even a site leader. This is a great document that you can provide to them to kind of go over the big picture. And then, of course, we have our organizer handbook, which is great for all of the very, very minute details, and is 32 pages long. So this is definitely easier to look at and read before you want to dive into that bigger handbook, which is essentially the holy grail of the cleanup planning if you haven't taken a look at it yet. Okay, so now we have a guest speaker today. Alice Roderick is a part of our communications and or digital communications at the organization, including our website, social media, email efforts. She's been with American Rivers, I believe, for, is it 3 years, Alice?
Almost 2.
Oh, it's 2. It feels like it's been 3. It feels like forever. She comes to us from Richmond, Virginia, and she has, before American Rivers, she's also had multiple years of digital marketing experience across a variety of industries. And she has a degree in strategic advertising too. So she is an expert. So I'll hand things off to her.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. I put together a quick presentation that I can share with Madeline to share with you guys. And again, obviously this is recorded, so if you need to go back, I'm going to be saying a lot of words. So if you don't absorb everything right away, that's fine. You can go back to recording and watch it again. So I will share my screen. All right, can you guys see? There we go. All right. So, well, that's fine. Got my notes. All right, so I can't put it into presentation mode without losing my notes, so I apologize. This is just going to be what it looks like. All right, so we're talking about promoting your river cleanups and engaging the community, trying to get as many volunteers as possible. While I would love to be able to say exactly what you should do to get the most amount of volunteers and people engaging in your events, one size does not fit all in this. So I'm going to give you a bunch of tips and tricks that you guys can think about what might work best in your communities. And also, if you do have questions following this, say, hey, this really stuck out to me. Can you talk a little bit more about it? Feel free to email Madeline or me. Madeline will probably forward me the message anyway. So happy to expand on any of this after we talk. So just want to go ahead and thank you guys for doing what you do. I know it's not an easy thing. Obviously, working as someone who works for a nonprofit, it's really hard to get audiences engaged in what we do and have them, you know, really just understand why we're doing what we do. So thank you guys for all the effort that you guys are putting into it. Like I said, one size does not fit all. What might work in a community in Ohio will not work for, you know, a coastal community in Virginia. Different people, different audiences, different organizations that we're talking about, different places, urban, suburban, rural locations that might have a local newspaper that people still engage with. You know, it's a lot easier to put an ad in a local newspaper that people might still be looking at, as opposed to the Washington Post if you're in Washington, D.C. A little bit different content. So like I said, I'm going to go through a lot of things. And if you guys have any questions during this time, feel free to interrupt me. That is totally fine. All right. So again, expanding, you know, audiences can be different. We're talking to coworkers, friends, other people in your community, potentially other nonprofit organizations that I'm sure that you guys have a lot of experience talking to. Again, with the newspaper example, if people are already going to the local corner store and picking up a 25-cent paper, that would be an awesome place to pay for an ad. To put information on your cleanup. But if, you know, someone is organizing a cleanup in Washington, D.C., maybe a Facebook event, which we'll get into later, might be a better way to engage people. So you really have to think about who your audience is, who you're talking to, where you are specifically located again, and think about how you're already interacting with your audiences. And that might be a really good place to start. So media is not for everyone. Media is really hard sometimes to engage with things like this. These snapshots are from, like Madeline mentioned earlier, our Most Endangered Rivers campaign, which is our biggest campaign we've been doing for like 40 years now. And we still sometimes have a hard time engaging local media, just because of the nature of the beast. Again, you know, people don't always like to acknowledge what's going on in the world. And so if you don't already have a relationship with your local media, maybe that's not the best place to go. Sometimes the media can be all over it, kind of depending on the time of year. Like if it's a slower time of year, they might have some space available, but if it's, say, around the holidays, maybe there's not as much. I personally have not had cable since I was about 18 years old, but I know that my mom still watches her local news all the time. And a story like this would probably catch her attention. So again, it's really the audience that you're talking to. And if you already have a relationship with your local media, absolutely reach out to them. And they might even want to come to the event and cover it, have a reporter there, or ask for a story from you afterwards. So if that relationship is established, there's no harm in reaching out to them and just seeing what happens. Social media is a beast. Part of my job at American Rivers is managing the social media, so I know a lot about it, but there is also things to learn every single day. So social media, I would say, is the cheapest, easiest, and quickest way to get information in front of people, and frequently. There's a variety of channels. There's Facebook, X, formerly Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I refuse to call it X still. There's Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads now. A lot of different places that communities are going and interacting. Obviously, Instagram is a little bit more visual than other platforms. So if you can see, we have some examples here of some graphics that you could create that has information on them with links to further information, right? You don't want to put every single thing that is happening on a graphic because that's just very overwhelming. So if you have access to create graphics like this, I would highly recommend it. Let's see, I'm just looking at my notes, making sure I'm having everything. One of the things that American Rivers has started doing, and also helping some of our local partners with, is creating Facebook events. If you know that people in your community are already engaging on Facebook, this could be an incredible way to get the event in front of people, as well as having the opportunity for people like other partners that you are working with in the local area, friends, anyone that you are already inviting, to share the information to their network of people. So, if you think about it as a pyramid, you're starting here and sharing it to these people that can share it to more and more people. So that can be a really easy and free way to get in front of more people. So if you're working on a budget, then that is absolutely an incredible way for you to go. It helps on social media to post a lot. Aside from an event, especially on Twitter, as soon as a message can pop up on Twitter, it can be gone because there is a large influx of content that is going into Twitter. So if someone's scrolling Twitter for 20 minutes and you post something in that 21st minute, they might not see it because just of how much content is being put out there. So especially on Twitter, do not be afraid if you have a profile already on there and you're engaging with your audience on there. Do not be afraid to put a lot of messages out there. On Facebook, I would say maybe once a day, that's totally fine. Facebook algorithm kind of has sometimes a tendency to show people a post more than once. So if you want to post more on there, you can, but it's not as important as, say, Twitter. The language is also important on social media. Get to the point. People, attention spans, I'm sure you've heard, have gotten shorter and shorter. So the quicker you can get to the point, the better. Making sure that the date, the time, everything that people need to know is very clearly stated. Make sure the links that you post are correct. I have definitely put wrong links to events or anything in a social media post, and people are like, what's going on? I can't access this. And then, you got to go back and you might have already lost their attention. So always good to double check the information that you have on there. And social media can actually also be a really good place to open up questions for people. So if you have a Facebook event, you can put a post in there that says, any questions that people may have, please post in the comments below. And so you can answer them. People in the community can read through the questions to see if their questions might be answered. And that's also a way, if you're looking for a volunteer to maybe step up and become a leader of a cleanup or create their own, that can also be a place for you to put that information and say, hey, if anyone is looking to do their own cleanup, comment here or private message us to talk further about it. So social media is it's free for the most part. It's free and it's a great way to engage people, a lot of people at one time, and just open up that flow of communication. Social ads. So we just talked about social media, but now we can talk about social paid ads. Facebook, which is owned by Meta, which also owns Instagram, is the easiest and best option when it comes to social paid ads. I would avoid Twitter, X ads. They're just not worth the time, honestly. So if you create a paid ad on Meta, then it will show up on both Facebook and Instagram. So you are getting it in front of those two completely different audience, maybe not completely different, but Facebook is one audience, and I would say Instagram is a little bit different of an audience. So you can get in front of different age ranges and some different locations there as well. Paid ads can be a little daunting, especially, again, if you are a nonprofit or working off a very strict budget, but you really don't need a lot of money to get in front of a lot of people. It is recommended that you have about $30 a day to promote your ad. But if you want to say, we only have $100 that we're going to put behind this for a 3-day ad campaign or a week-long ad campaign, that is totally fine. And especially if you are able to target that ad in a small community, if you are just doing a county, a town, even 5 towns, $100 can still get in front of sometimes tens of thousands of people. So don't underestimate $100 on a social media ad campaign. Again, make sure that the content is correct. When you're doing a paid ad, it's a lot harder to edit the content because it's already running. So it's already getting out in front of a lot of people, and a lot of people are seeing this. So if there is a mistake, then it's going to be a little bit harder to fix that. But definitely recommend social ads. We have email as well. If you're already engaging with audience, or if you're working with people that are already engaging with their audience over email, if you have monthly newsletters, bi-monthly newsletters, just quarterly newsletters, anything like that, any chance to put a little bit of information with a link to learn more, maybe to a landing website that you have on your website, their website, anywhere that has more information. It is a really great way to get in front of people that you're already interacting with. So social can be a place where you can invite and get in front of people that you might not already be interacting with. Email is a place where you can really get in front of the people that you're already talking to, and you might get a better turnaround rate with those people because they're already interested in what you have to say and what you're doing. Email is also a really great way to show appreciation for the people that came to the cleanup. And appreciation can go a long way for people to return in the future or want to do their own cleanup in the future. If you have something that you found during the cleanup that was crazy, and trust me, we found some crazy things during cleanups, you can put that in a thank you email. Say, we really appreciate your time. This is how much trash we collected. I know Madeline collects stats that she shares with organizers. So if you get that from her and you're like, we collected 300 pounds of trash and we found this crazy Barbie doll connected to a fishing pole, look at it. You know, people knowing the impact that they've had and feeling good about it, that really goes a long way. Like I said, especially for them to come back another time or do their own cleanup. So if you already have that connection established with your community that you're talking to over email, it really doesn't hurt to send an email. And it can be a little bit longer as well than a social media post, so you can have a little bit more information in there, again, linking back maybe to the Facebook event or another landing page. Photos, to put in social ads, to put in your emails, to show your community the awesome things that you did. Photos, I will use the cliche, tell 1,000 words. It really shows other people that might have been interested this time, but weren't really sure. And then you send this follow-up email and they're like, wow, that looks really fun. I'm going to go next time. Photos can really show the impact that you guys have had on the community through your cleanups. Yeah, Madeline?
Sorry, with emails, I thought of a question. So some of us may be using a regular, like, generic email template, either created on Google Email or Outlook. Is there some other platform we should consider using to make the email look prettier, or is content more important than it looking pretty looking?
That's a good question. I would say that whatever you're already doing is just fine, because your audience can already recognize your content for how it looks. If you did have the access to a email platform to create visually appealing emails, that is one thing. However, that does cost probably a lot of money that not everyone has. So to answer the question, probably the content with a picture goes a long way.
Cool, thank you.
In terms of photos, usually landscape instead of portrait. So this would be an example of a portrait, and this would be a landscape photo. Obviously, this is an incredible photo, super cute. So I'm not gonna say it should have been landscape, but usually you want to get as much of the scene that you can in the photo. People love interacting with people as well. So if you show a picture of a person's face having fun, that tends to see a little bit more engagement by other people, seeing other people have fun. Again, not everyone has access to a professional photographer to come to these, and I don't think most of our cleanups have a professional photographer, but that is totally okay. Most of us have smartphones by this point, which is a completely acceptable way to just capture the day, capture moments, capture the weirdest finds of the day, capture the huge pile of trash that you guys were able to collect to share with other people. And sometimes, visuals can, again, help. No one can really visualize what 300 pounds of trash looks like until they actually see it. So if you're like, this is what 300 pounds of trash looks like, this is what we did that day that we all cleaned up our community. So again, visuals help so much. So that was a lot of me talking. Does anybody have questions or want to go over a section again or anything? All right. And if you guys think of any, again, after this, or you're putting together your promotions and you're like, oh, wait, I don't know what to do here, or I know Alice talked about this, but I forget, feel free to email me and Madeline. Yeah, Madeline?
Because I find this stuff fascinating, absolutely fascinating. What are if you do the Facebook posts or the ads, I guess what data should you be like looking at and collecting and tracking, and what would you consider like good engagement? Does it really depend, and do you have to like track it over time to see if like what would be considered good or not, and kind of try different things, or do you have like a baseline that you would recommend to people?
Yeah, so if you haven't done something like this before, like a social campaign like this before, it's kind of hard to know the baseline of what a successful campaign would look like. If you are able and you have the capacity to track how specific posts do, especially paid ads will actually collect data for you, so that can make it a little bit easier. But if you're doing individual posts that you can look at the engagement on, a engagement rate is kind of what you're looking at in terms of how successful a post can be. An engagement rate of, it might sound low, but 3% is actually pretty standard in terms of what we're looking at as success. If you are able to, again, and you have the capacity, because I know a lot of times organizations and nonprofits especially have a small team of people working on things. So if you do have the capacity to keep track of all of the posts that you have and put out, and you look at all of the comments and likes and shares and link clicks in them, and if the overall engagement rate of all of those is around 3%, I would call that a successful campaign. You can also look at which specific post did the best. Did it have a graphic? Did it have just a picture of a previous cleanup? Did it have a link to a landing page? Did people click on that link? Did it have a link to the actual Facebook event? And you can see if there's a trend in any of those. And maybe next time that you do this and you say, hey, the post that had the graphic with, date, time, location, and a message saying this could be you, or you can help save the James River, you can help save the Ohio River. Any information like that you can collect and use to your advantage next time, I would say would be a good thing to keep track of.
And how long, I guess, so for if you were, it could be any event, but for a cleanup event, how early should you start posting about the event? Is it literally like right after it happens? Should you be getting the registration form out and trying to recruit people like as you kind of come off the high of that successful event? Or if you don't do that, or you don't have the time to do that, is 1 month, 2 months okay? Or is there like a sweet spot?
I can say that I think a month ahead of time is a good place to start. I don't know about you guys, but my calendar is month to month. So I am looking at things 4 weeks ahead of time. And I think a lot of other people are as well. Especially if it's a local thing, I don't think that you need to promote it that far ahead of time, because people don't need to travel as far. Unless you're someone in Virginia promoting something in California, then maybe that, travel schedule is a little bit different. But if you're looking for community things, I think that a month in advance is perfectly fine. And maybe, again, with the pyramid analogy, you can start small. You can do a few Facebook posts or Twitter posts and say, hey, this is happening. Stay tuned to learn more. And then once the event just keeps getting closer, you can start to pump out a little bit more material. Maybe a month in advance is also when you can do the event on Facebook. So people can have a landing page to go to, and you can also start collecting those questions that people might be asking. And if you're going the paid route, again, if you don't have a big budget, you could do 2 different campaign pushes. You could do 2 campaigns, both 3 days long, $75 each round. You could do one a month in advance and then maybe just a week before, and say, hey, make sure you don't miss this. This is happening in a week. If you don't have weekend plans, feel free to come by, or feel free to register now and come by. So it really depends on your audience, but there really is, in terms of being too early, I would say a month would be a good place to start.
Great. I have more questions, but I didn't want to leave for anyone else.
No, it's totally fine. And I've learned that sometimes people, if they don't know if they haven't really engaged in a lot of digital communications or content, they don't really know the questions to ask, and that's totally okay. So maybe if someone else has a question, they're like, oh yeah, I might actually have that question too. That can be really helpful. So
my other question was, if you are doing like a multi-site cleanup for all in one day, is there any communication strategies to recruit site coordinators from the general public? Like, should that be a targeted, like separate advertising or post, or is it okay to like combine it into one? And what would you recommend for that strategy?
I would definitely establish the communication for the event itself first, so people can become aware of it and learn a little bit more about it. And then if you are looking for specific individuals to step up in that leadership role, you can refer to past posts and say, hey, remember this is happening. We're looking for individuals who would be interested in more leadership roles and managing, 15, 20 people in this one area. I think that establishing the event first, and then maybe after a week or so, asking for those individuals to step up would probably be an effective way to get people to do that.
Awesome. For like exciting residents and teaching them about like litter in general, how would you go about that, building off of like what you already talked about, with educating about them, like the problem of litter and maybe the cleanup sites in general? What would you recommend to people to get that message out there?
I would either, if you're using the vehicle of the Facebook event or an email, that is a place to talk more about that kind of stuff. Or if you have, again, a landing page on a website, either your website or a partner's website that you're working with, that can be a good place to have that information. On social media posts, you don't want to put too much. But if you have a line that says, if you want to learn more about the impacts that these cleanups have on our community, click here to learn more, that can take someone to a place where that information can be. Again, with photos, with the cliche, photos tell 1,000 words. And you can say, we didn't think that 300 pounds of trash were in the river, but just in this mile stretch that we cleaned up, we got 300 pounds of trash, and this is a lot. Giving people that visual to say, this is the impact that we can have just in a 2-hour time period of 40 volunteers coming out and doing what they can. So anything like that to engage people and really show the importance of what they're doing, and it's not an all-day thing, right? But you can show that 2 hours with however many people can actually make a difference. I think that visual storytelling is very important to deliver that message.
Very cool. Well, thank you. As you can see, I get very excited about this topic. Probably why I'm in this position. But yeah. Well, does anyone have any other questions for Alice before we let her go? And of course, if you have questions for her or I, feel free to contact us, and we can happy to give you some insight, ideas, support in any way we can.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Alice. I'll let you go.
Thank you guys again.
Time.
No problem. Take care, everyone. Excited to see all the photos from your cleanups. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, so now we just have some time We probably won't go all the way to 2 p.m., but do you guys have any questions or want to share what you're doing or get some message out there about this fall or upcoming opportunities, or ask questions to me or the audience? No? Okay. Well, great. Don't forget, Most Endangered Rivers campaign. The nominations are due in September. I will get you guys that date. I think it's mid-September. I want to say the 19th, but I could be wrong. So I will just email everyone again about that. And of course, let me know if you guys have any questions or you want to share some creative thing that you've thought of and you want to see if anyone else wants to do it too, or see if someone else has done it before and kind of get their advice or feedback. We're here. This is a network of cleanup organizers all across the country. And so happy to support you guys in any way we can. Thank you guys so much and have a great Labor Day weekend. Bye.